All right, we're back with Skyfall Session. Shout out to Pro Democracy News. Let's get into some post-debate commentary, post-vice presidential debate.
January the 20th.
This was a threat to our democracy in a way that we had not seen. And it manifested itself because of Donald Trump's inability to say. He is still saying he didn't lose the election. I would just ask that. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind?
Can't ever answer the question. I don't understand. Simple question. This is an easy way to prove that you are a Democrat or that you're for democracy. But no, you can't answer that because, of course, you want a dictator.
In the wake of the 2020 COVID situation,
that is a damning non-answer. I see a candidate out there who refused, and now again, and this, I'm pretty shocked by this, he lost the election. So America, I think you've got a really clear choice on this election of who's going to honor that democracy and who's going to honor Donald Trump.
That's right.
What did you make of that moment?
Well, it was, okay. Well, there's a whole lot to unpack here. So I'll start with this. This, for 8.5 rounds, was the polished Yale debate champion doing what they do. Ducking, jiving, moving, sliding, all of that. And Walz was holding his own, putting out some policy threads and laying down some stuff like that. That moment in the 9th round, after losing on points for 8 rounds, knockout, because I don't care where you are on policy, and yes, it's important. We know, oh my God, it's so important. There's so much stuff to get into, from abortion to the economy to what's happening right now in Israel.
And so much stuff they weren't able to get into,
and so much stuff they weren't to get into. But folks, you have to fundamentally understand the truth. If you cannot, in 2024, answer that question, you are unfit for office. It doesn't matter what else you did for 90 or 89 minutes. That last minute, you cannot answer that question because the guy who's watching that you're performing for will kick your behind when you get off that stage, tells me and should tell the country you are unfit for office. So everybody's going to analyze the hell out of this thing and give Vance his due. And buddy, you can debate, baby. You can debate. There's no question you can debate. We knew that going in. You're good at that, boo. You do it. But you know where you screw up? When you look the country in the eye and lie to them, and you cannot say you lost, that your boss, the guy you're shilling for, lost that election. Because you know what, JD, as Minnesota Nice said tonight, your behind is on that stage because Mike Pence wouldn't do what you just did.
So this is what I mean. Everything up there is about power. Money and power. Money leads to power. Once you're up here, you have power. Trump is a very powerful man, and he's so powerful that even somebody as powerful as JD Vance can't say anything against them, no matter how crazy it is. JD Vance probably could be a successful, regular, normal Republican that was prior, pre-Trump era. But now that Trump's here with his foot on his neck, respectively, he can't really do much because somebody with so much power has his foot on him. And I really hate that dynamic in politics.
And that's lie about what happened on January 6th.
I want to be very clear. I think that I agree with what the chairman just said.
So, Jacob, let's start with you. How are voters there in Michigan reacting to what they saw last night?
Oh, Jose, Anna, they are reacting. I can assure you of that. And there's a reason for that. JD Vance will be not far away from where I am today in Oakland County, Michigan. And when you talk to people here at Oakland University, they'll tell you that, it's not 1, 2, or 3 days before one of the 4 candidates for either president or vice president will come through here. Oakland County, it's not an exaggeration to say, will be one of the most consequential counties in this swing state come Election Day. That's because there was a 100,000 vote swing from former President Trump in 2016 to President Biden in 2020. And even next door in Macomb County as well, which leans Republican, the student body populace here at Oakland University is made up of largely young people from both of those key counties in Michigan. And all of these issues that we talk about day in and day out are on the minds of the young people here. By the way, Michigan had some of the largest youth voter turnout in the 2022 midterm elections. Gun violence was one of those issues, particularly because of the shooting at MSU and at a high school nearby here back in 2021.
A quick aside really quick. What he's talking about right now is these young voters. Young people are starting to get involved in politics sooner because young people are starting to see the effects of the world more readily as they grow older because of things like climate change. They're seeing the weather. They're seeing things like Hurricane Helene hit, and they're understanding that, wait, this is happening because the people before us didn't do something right. So people are younger, are getting into politics earlier, and they're largely more progressive. The older politicians, they don't like this on both sides, especially the Republicans, though. They don't want these young radical voters coming in because they're going to vote largely progressive, largely left, and that's going to be against the interests of anything on the right, and they're never going to win again. So if you read Cenk Uygur's book, Justice is Coming, I'm not like funded by him in any way. I'm just endorsing the book because I enjoy it. You'll see that, it's just a matter of time before young people and progressives take over.
And there was a young woman, Jimena, who was the student body president here at Oakland University, who had brought up that issue in advance of the debate. After the debate, I wanted to ask her and her fellow students about how they reacted to the conversation about gun violence during the debate. Here's what they said. What did you think when you heard JD Vance talk about that? Jimena was talking about how because of what happened at one of your neighboring schools here, it's an issue that rings close to home.
I thought it was ridiculous. I mean, the issue is guns. The issue is not better locks on doors.
And it's such an easy thing to argue. Like, obviously the issue is guns. I don't even know why right-wingers continue to argue this. People are literally dying over people's talking points, and it doesn't make any sense anymore. Like we got people like Kendrick Lamar rapping about it in his songs, thoughts and prayers sound way better off timelines because that's all we do. Like, people get killed, and then just send thoughts and prayers, and we move on. And it's just so sad. I think we need to like actually bring in people like Tim Walz. And I think with him at Kamala's back, they can maybe actually make some real change happen and get some real common sense gun laws so we can actually stop the kind of violence we have going on in this country.
So, that was a notable and I think memorable exchange from the debate when Senator Vance was talking about the solution to gun violence being better locks on doors and stronger windows. It was something I think that certainly resonated with the voters here. And there were all kinds of issues from reproductive rights to immigration that elicited, I think, a strong response. And it wasn't just in favor of the Harris-Walz campaign, but I think here on this campus, which is, like I said, a largely a Democratic-leaning area, it certainly did resonate with them.
And I guess the big question that is on so many minds as we try to read the tea leaves of where this campaign and this election cycle goes next is, after last night's debate, did it move the needle at all in terms of anyone's vote?
I think so. And you know what, Anna, there's one person I think I should probably ask that. Come on in here, Marcus. Marcus was on with me last night. He has gone somewhat viral this morning. Come over here, Marcus. Marcus, we're live on MSNBC. It's good to see you again on campus. Anna Cabrera was just asking me, do you think that the debate last night moved the needle in any way for your fellow students, or they came out of it, as they went into it with their minds already made up of what they're doing?
I would say people were pretty resolved when they came in and when they left. Nobody really had too many opinion changes. If you saw with the flags how we was doing, nobody really deterred in opinion as much. So people were kind of decided going into the thing and then leaving. I know there was one person who kind of flipped,
But I think that was about it. Marcus, it's good to see you, and now the people of America know who Marcus is, Anna and Jose. He made a big impression last night, guys.
Yeah, we played his clip last hour that has gone viral, the one you mentioned. Please thank him for bringing us his civics lesson that he brought to the country last night. And Jacob, good to see you.
Thank you for your civics lesson.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks, Marcus, and thanks, Jacob. And so, Mark, what were your top takeaways from this debate last night?
Well, the main job of any VP candidate is to do no harm. I don't think either one did any harm. But from just a performance level, you have to give Vance some credit. He was very polished, very smooth. Walz looked very nervous. He was very jumpy. But the interesting thing is that it seemed more like Vance was just trying to rehabilitate his image as a nice guy. It was a very civil debate. I don't think he did what I mean, the real mission that he had to do was to attack Walz and to make clear that his record was much more out of step with the mainstream America, which he didn't do. So I think he helped himself with Trump. I think he helped himself with MAGA. I don't think he moved. I don't think that the debate changed any minds in the country.
So this makes me think that really for both of these VPs right here, this is really just a really big setup for them for the future for their own presidential runs, because JD Vance knows that Trump's not going to win. I'm sure he knows that. Like, he's obviously going to crash and burn. Kamala's going to win, and it's going to give Tim Walz a huge step forward to a possible run for president in the future. And if he runs in the future, then that's our big in for a progressive. Now, we may have another progressive come before him, but look, we have so many options opening up for somebody progressive coming in and really making real change happen. And mind you, to anybody listening to this, whether you're right wing, left wing, when I say progressive, please don't take that as a scary thing, no matter what your ideology is. Progressive means that things that people want to happen, by and large, are going to happen. And I mean good things. Things like universal health care, paid family leave, things that people want, things that are going to affect their lives positively. Things like fair wages so that people could buy houses that for a fair price actually like reach the American dream. So the bootstrap pulling up actually works. You know what I mean? So please don't think progressive is a scary thing. But yeah, I think both of these candidates here, they're really just propping themselves up for future runs, and it's not going to affect this presidential run at all. And I think Harris is still well on her way to winning. She's going to crush Trump.
The VP debates rarely do. The VP candidates rarely do. So I think the race is structurally the same. I think Vance helped himself with the base, but not with undecided voters.
Simone, how do you see Governor Walz's performance? Did he do what he needed to do for Kamala Harris and their campaign?
Look, I think two things can be true at the same time, right? That I personally walked away from last night's debate thinking, okay, the strategy that the campaign had going into the debate about how, if David says something that I want to counter, it's like, now, I agree with some of what David said, but da-da-da-da. Instead of saying, David made some interesting points. You don't always have to disagree. You can disagree and not be disagreeable. And I think that there was a little too much, I agree with what so-and-so said.
You think Governor Walz was doing that too much?
I think there were too many niceties on both sides. I mean, from both of the candidates. I mean, truly, JD Vance, he stood up on the debate stage and it was like he was building a platform and policy in real time. Like there were just some things that he said when it comes to child care, for example, that is not Donald Trump's plan. Like he articulated a housing plan that I've never heard.
Right, and she's making the point that I was just making. It's like he was building a platform in real time. He's showing the American people who he is. So some people go, maybe I like that. Maybe some center people or definitely some right-wing people. And maybe even some people on the left are kind of like some right-wing policies are kind of like, well, that's kind of interesting. He seems like a very reasonable person. That's why in the last debate clip I did, I kept talking about how sane he appeared in this debate, regardless of the things he has done so far during the campaign with Trump. Anyways, I digress.
From the top of the ticket. And in vice presidential debates, that's not what they're usually there to do. But I will just say this. I do think that Governor Walz, he had some very strong moments. And I think he started off shaky, but got stronger. And like the Tim Walz that people had seen out there during the Veep stakes, he showed up on that debate stage later on. And the clips are how many people are going to experience this debate. They're not going to watch it straight through like many of us did. And I think in the clips that have been shown, the contrast for Governor Walz is great. And so I think that's good. I think that the campaign has taken one of the better exchanges and flipped it into an ad, that January 6th exchange at the end. That is going to be important because there are some voters out there that need
something that the former president said about, and he seemed to sharpen his tone a little bit as it relates to the vice president. Obviously, we know he's a self-proclaimed counterpuncher, but this is something that he said about the vice president in recent weeks. Take a listen.
Kamala is mentally impaired. Joe Biden became mentally impaired. Kamala was born that way. She was born that way. She is a very dumb person, and we can't do that. We can't do that. I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be rude.
I don't understand why this man does this. He says something rude and then says he doesn't want to be rude. Oh man, Donald Trump is hilarious, man. He's hilarious. But okay, check it out. Look. Um okay, listen, man. Okay, listen. All Donald Trump can do at this point is resort to calling people names and making fun of them and insulting them. And the insults aren't even funny anymore. I mean, I guess they're still funny, but they're not even creative. They're funny just because of the fact that it's happening and Trump's still here. It's been 8 years. I can't believe this happened. I remember all those years ago when Trump announced that he was running on the Republican ticket, and I could not believe that he beat out all those other Republicans and rose to the top. And then beat Hillary and became president, and here we are now trying to kick him out again with another woman. Kamala Harris is going to destroy him, and I can't wait.
I don't want to be rude.
Laura, he also called Governor Tim Walz a, quote, moron. And I ask you this in the context of having spoken to some of his allies who say, look, they are locked in tough races for reelection. They're worried that kind of rhetoric could not only hurt him, but their chances in down ballot races. What do you say to that and to their concerns?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, Kristen, wonder what kind of a very intelligent individual, as borders are, would leave our border wide open. You would see.
Let me get back to the crux of the question, because I understand the arguments you want to make. I understand we're probably going to hear that from Senator Vance.
She's like, I know you're talking points. I know the crap that you're spitting. Like, let's get back to what I'm really trying to say. Come on.
Tonight on the debate stage too, but I want your take, Laura, on this language. Calling Kamala Harris, saying she was born mentally incompetent.
Like straight up calling her dumb.
Saying that Tim Walz is a moron. Is that language that you think best represents your father-in-law in the Republican Party? Just the language.
Well, I'll tell you, this is Donald Trump, and he has never tried to make himself out to be anyone other than who he is. And obviously, he's kind of joking around there with the crowd at a Trump rally when he says those things. But the reality stands as to what I just said, and it does beg the question as to what the heck has been going on in that White House.
So, folks, after that debate, Donald is hiding away.
Okay, so that is a straight up word salad that she just said. Shout out to Christo, Aivalis. I'm sorry, I'm probably mispronouncing the name, but let's go ahead and hear the commentary. I love watching this channel, so I decided to do some commentary on this channel and give it some more shine as well. So make sure you go check this channel out.
Not doing events and whatnot, at least not as much, because it was a disaster in every way for him. It was a loss for his campaign because he's behind, and I think they needed a win last night. And the polls seemed to suggest it was more of a tie, just on the Vance versus Walz question. But specifically, where Walz scored a massive punch, it wasn't necessarily a knockout, but it was definitely a knockdown, was on exposing Vance being unwilling to criticize Trump, yet also not fully defending him. Vance in that one didn't say, for example, yes, I actually agree with Trump 100%. The election was the worst one in 2020. He dodged the question. So it showed that, yes, he's a coward unwilling to stand up for Trump, but he's also not fully sticking out his neck for Trump like he did before.
Yeah, see, this is a campaign for JD Vance. He is being this guy is smooth criminal. So I agree with you, bro. Like this is a guy who he's maneuvering his way up the ladder, and he's using Trump to do it. He's catapulting. He's gonna be remembered by what he did here, and is all the little silly things that are happening here. He's dodging them. He's like smooth criminal and by because he's gonna move his way up into being a smart, intelligent guy, like a real politician. After Trump is gone off the scene,
perhaps signaling that he knows they're going to lose this election and doesn't want to sink his career. Says to himself, I'm only 40. If I look okay in this, I can come back in 4, 8, 12, even 20 years and run for president again, right? And so that's what he's probably thinking. And it's also bad for Trump because insofar as Vance was there, he made Trump look awful. Now everyone's saying, we don't want to see Donald anymore. We want to see him because neither of them are great, but this guy seems to at least not have dementia. And further, Trump is also hiding away because of moments like you saw with that young man. That if Vance, who is way less dumb than Trump, can get exposed by a random young man who's just a student. I'm not trying to talk down the students. When I taught at universities, my students were incredibly bright, as that young man is. But if, a supposed vice presidential nominee can get routinely taken down by that young man, Donald is afraid of being confronted by you, the average voter. And that's why he's hiding after the debate disaster.
All right. Shout out to the channel Pro Democracy News. Okay, thanks everybody for watching another video from the Sci-Fi Sessions. If you can, please like and subscribe. Yeah, I like covering news like this and providing some fun commentary. It's been a good time so far. So if you can, help the channel grow. And yeah, catch you guys next time.